Okay, class.
Who would like to give their Scream 6 theory first?
Anybody else? Okay, Heather. Can I start? Yeah.
Okay guys, so what if this time around Ghostface was Sydney? No really, how crazy would that be?
Hello Sydneys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Ever since the trailer for Scream 6 dropped, I have not been able to stop thinking and theorizing who is Ghostface in this movie. Not only just that, but actually just seeing the hype surrounding fans and newcomers of the franchise. If you were to tell me we would get a new Scream movie without Sidney Prescott and people would actually be through the roof excited for it, I think you're lying. I'd say you're sniffing Doofy's hand a little too much.
Smell my fingers.
Oh, what the hell is that?
My ass.
So with that just constantly rattling in my mind, I thought why not get on here and just vent off to you guys my theories and speculation for who I think could be the ghost faces of this movie. Things are gonna get wild, weird, unconventional. I'm gonna be reaching, but I'm fully aware my speculation most likely isn't correct, and I'm not gonna get pissed off if something I theorized doesn't come to fruition. This is just the fun of the Scream franchise. So be sure you leave me your thoughts and theories on who you think the Ghostface could be, their motive, how it'll be revealed or connected to the next movie if we get a 7th Scream film, as well as you debunking any theories I have, because I love hearing from you guys why you think something wouldn't work out. Alright, so kicking things off, I want to start off with the people I just have no believability in actually thinking they're going to be revealed as Ghostface for this movie. I joked about it at the beginning of this video, but Sidney Prescott or Gale Weathers, no chance in heck they could be revealed as Ghostface. Every time we get a new Scream movie, these legacy characters are pinpointed as the Ghostfaces merely for shock value, not for anything that would make sense with the plot. With the amount of trauma Gale and Sidney have been through in all the other Scream films, there's just no reason for them to put on the costume themselves, hurt innocent people, and go after somebody else. Sure, you can come up with wild reasons about, oh, Sidney just wants to put an end to all of this, and the daughter of Billy Loomis would be the perfect way to put an end to it. Or Gale wanting to take down Sam because if it wasn't for her, Dewey would have never have died and that was the love of her life. It's like, you can maybe come up with reasons that still wouldn't explain why they would stab other innocent people like their friends in the colleges. Like, they just would not do that. That would piss off so many people. But it would be a good twist. Shut up! I'm also gonna say Sam Carpenter revealed as Ghostface doesn't really make sense or feel satisfying to me. The series now is focusing on the Carpenter sisters, and while yes, you could play into that whole thing of her having mental issues, seeing illusions of her dead father, and even getting a little taste of blood with that knife kill she had by the end of Scream 5, I feel like the trailer is just making it so heavy-handed with her saying things like, there's a darkness inside of me, it's been following me around. I feel like the movie will play more into her being afraid that she could become a monster like her father without her actually having become one. But from there, let's transition into some plausible theories that maybe have a slight % chance of actually happening, starting off with the one everyone agrees with, right? The Stu Theory.
No, I don't at all.
Now I had to get this one out of the way because it's just the most common theory amongst fans and newcomers of the franchise. So many people out there want to see Stu Macher return as the killer for Scream 6. If you've watched my channel and my Scream videos, you know I'm a huge fan of Stu Macher. I love his Ghostface and just his psychotic humor he brings into Ghostface. Those last 10 minutes in the first Scream movie is something I would die to see happen again. Many people know he was supposed to be the original killer for Scream 3 until they rewrote the script due to real life events. I also can't bring up the Stu theory without also being fair to the people who are anti-Stu, mainly because they just think it's unbelievable for him to be alive. I don't think it's that unbelievable because Stu and Billy were purposely stabbing each other in a way where they were meant to survive those wounds.
Don't forget, stay to the side and don't go too deep.
They practiced and rehearsed where to hit each other in a way that would let them survive those events. And as far as the giant television falling on his head and electrocuting him, we've seen a Ghostface that has survived an electrocution head on before. But on the flip side of that, there are just things that don't make sense for why Stu could come back. It's one, why was he never mentioned again in the past movies? Two, why would the movie Stu comes back in be the one that does not have Sidney Prescott?
I always had a thing for you, Sid.
I would think if he goes Ghostface again, it would be to go after Sidney and not the daughter of his accomplice that I'm sure he has some sort of grudge against, especially now because the events of Scream 5 left his nephew dead, and that was directly linked to the Carpenter sisters. So really, when it comes down to it, yes, I would love Stu to come back, but I think there is a whole pile of mess to make it make sense to please both sides of the Stu deniers and the Stu wanters, because it could easily be the jumping of the shark of the franchise. Our next theory here, Carpenter as the Ghostface for Scream 6. Now, this one I think is also kind of plausible. A lot of people have started speculating on Tara for a couple of reasons, mainly that little evil smirk smile she gives in the trailer that I think was intentionally put in there to make goofballs like me go, oh, she could be Ghostface. But if you really sit down and think about it and examine the rules of all the Scream movies, there's a way for her to be a legitimate Ghostface here. For one, Tara Carpenter finds out some earth-shattering history in Scream 5 about her sister's relation to Billy Loomis and how that information led to her biological father abandoning her and her mother becoming a drunk who's always away on business trips. You even pair that up with Sam not being a good sister to Tara, doing drugs, acting out, and then eventually abandoning her as well until the events of Scream 5 unfold. Somebody going the distance of becoming Ghostface because a parent abandoned them is something we've seen done multiple times in the Scream franchise.
Your slut mother was fucking my father. She's the reason my mom moved out and abandoned me. Total abandonment causes serious deviant behaviors. Total abandonment causes serious deviant behaviors. Total abandonment causes serious deviant behaviors.
It's the same reason Roman also went after his sister Sydney because of his mother abandoning him. Also even want to stretch and reach out a bit further and look at some of the clothing Tara is wearing in the Scream trailer. Some fans might know there's something called the plaid theory for Scream 4, 5, and maybe 6. This is something that the fans have noticed that the movie hints at who is Ghostface by the clothing they wear. We had both Jill Roberts and Charlie wear plaid flannels as paying homage to the flannels that Billy Loomis wore in the first Scream. And then you get on to Scream 5 and Richie also happens to wear a plaid flannel in homage to Billy Loomis. And in the trailer for Scream 6 we do see one character wearing plaid. That's newcomer here Evan, played by Jack Champion. I feel the creative team has now caught on that the fans are aware of this and are using Evan as maybe a red herring, but could still be using clothes to kind of hint at Ghostface, just in a different method. If we see what Tara Carpenter is wearing here in one scene, a white shirt with black stripes, resembling the same type of shirt that Jill wore in Scream 4, a white shirt with some black stripes. Like I said, ridiculous, reaching out, but that's what we do here as fans. Now, admittedly, there are a lot of holes in this theory. For this one to work, I feel like Tara Carpenter has to have no involvement in Scream 5, meaning that she wasn't a mastermind of everything from the beginning with like Richie and Amber. It would basically ruin the opening of Scream 5 and her having this whole conversation with Ghostface with no witnesses around. But in the trailer, this Ghostface does say he's something different. He's something that we've never seen before. We've never seen a victim turn Ghostface. So once she learned the information of why all of this was happening to her and that it might continue to happen to her all of her life like Sydney and Gail, she must get rid of her sister. The next theory here, I'm gonna admit I'm not really a fan of, but so many people have been bringing up, I thought why not go ahead and try and see if I can make it make sense. Kirby Reed as Ghostface. So many people are throwing out Kirby's name not only because she's a legacy character, so it would be a huge shocking twist if she's revealed to be Ghostface. The fact that she also comes back as a cop in this movie, and we see that Ghostface has a shrine filled with evidence in one room. Who else would have access to all that stuff other than a cop? And while I love the character of Kirby Reed, and I can agree that would be one shocking crazy twist, I have just been struggling to piece together what a motive Kirby would have to go after the Carpenter sisters. And after a while of just trying to make it make sense, something did kind of click. Something a lot of fans don't think about with like the Carpenter sisters ever since they came to existence in Scream 5, that means they existed in Scream 4, we just never saw who they were. The same way Sam and Tara's biological mom existed in Scream 1, going to high school with Sidney Prescott and Billy Loomis, but we never saw who she was, but we do know that she slept with Billy and got pregnant with Sam. If we look at the age ranges of Kirby Reed and Sam Carpenter, Sam would be 14 years old during the events of Scream 4 when Kirby was a senior in high school, putting Sam Carpenter as a freshman in Woodsboro High the same time we were following that group get terrorized by Jill and Charlie. Sam was not only just struggling with becoming a high schooler, this was also a year after Sam found out about who her father really was.
When I was 13, looking for Christmas presents, and I found these old diaries that she kept from high school.
In Scream 5, she mentioned she learned when she was 13, rummaging around her mother's diary. And I'll be honest, this is kind of where my train of thought sort of stops, and I'm trying to piece together again what could be happening without reaching a little too far, but I do think it's interesting to know Sam and Kirby were in the exact same school around the same time, just as she knew the information about her real father. For Kirby to be the killer in here, I feel like she would have to be involved with the the events of Scream 4 and that she was a secret Ghostface. I always loved the motive Jill had for becoming Ghostface and wanting to become the new Sidney Prescott to gain all the fame and attention that her cousin was getting. And part of that plan was framing her partner Charlie and then being the only survivor of that event. And I have to think Jill was smart enough to also plan a sequel, same like Stu Macher.
So we're gonna carry on and plan the sequel, cause let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
And like a true Ghostface, you can't plan a sequel without having a partner. What if Jill and Kirby found out the information that Sam knew as a teenager who maybe shared the information to a friend of hers? And we know how high school is. Kids do not keep their mouths shut.
How did you know?
Oh, about your father? I mean, it's a small town and your mom's a drunk.
They thought they got rid of Sidney Prescott, and for the sequel, they wanted to do something meta, and that was frame Sam Carpenter the same way Richie and Amber were gonna frame Sam as Ghostface just because of who she was connected to, and that would have made a great real-life sequel for her to continue being famous, continuously getting attacked by a Ghostface. Those plans, of course, didn't work out because Jill ends up dying, and then Kirby, a secret Ghostface, ends up looking innocent just as a victim, becoming a cop, rediscovers Sam and Tara Carpenter in New York, and decides, let me finish what Jill started. Crazy, wild, not gonna happen. But isn't that kind of fun to go on that roller coaster ride? Like I was saying, I see no way for Kirby to be the Ghostface unless I hear a really good motive. That's the best I could come up with for the people saying Kirby. Bringing me to my final two theories that I think are just the most plausible and the most likely. I just don't have an exact face for them. For one, it's the parent/sibling revenge theory. This is where we take all the new faces that we're bound to meet in Scream 6, and without knowing exactly who they are and who they're connected to, any one of these people can be a sibling or a parent of a previous victim. I brought up earlier how Stu Macher's nephew ended up dying because of Sam Carpenter being in Woodsboro. We could easily have the sister of Stu Macher, Leslie Macher, come into the frame, get revenge for her son dying because of the Carpenter sister's fault, and taking up the role of Ghostface, very similar to something like Mrs. Loomis in Scream 2.
Mine is just good old-fashioned revenge. You killed my son.
You could even take it a step further and implement the cult theory in here that maybe each one of these newcomers is somehow related to a previous victim. They all got together, they all agreed this is messed up, and we have a cult of family members wanting revenge on the people responsible who keep bringing Ghostface back. Or the last angle you could take with this family revenge theory is we still don't know that much information about Sam and Tara's mother and father. The Carpenter mother, I think, is going to be one fascinating character whenever she's finally introduced. I'm assuming in the 7th movie, or revealed to be Ghostface in here. She was someone who was in love with Billy Loomis, a fan of scary movies, is a drunk, and has some sort of job that requires her to go out on business in London. Tara's father has a good reason to go after Sam. He doesn't see her as a daughter. He sees her as a monster, a reminder that his wife doesn't actually love him and was in love with a murderer. Could he have later connected with Tara online and plotted this whole thing with father and daughter? That, I think, wouldn't be so bad to see depending who you cast as the father of Tara Carpenter. But the most likely theory that we have here that you guys have heard me talk about is whoever Ghostface is a fan of true crime. As soon as I saw that shrine of all the stuff connecting all the movies, it just feels like the obvious commentary to go with, but I just can't figure out the exact face of who it'll be. I also want to make it clear and say I don't think this is the personal connection of a Ghostface. There are moments in the trailer where we see Chad fighting off Ghostface, and we have a couple of stab posters in the background, making me think that this was a public event where people could buy tickets, look at all these props, whether they're replicas or real evidence taken from locker rooms. This shrine is just part of the commentary of this movie, of us idolizing real people's deaths and turning it into entertainment. And this true crime angle, I think, is just going to connect more to a family member wanting revenge on the Carpenter sisters for the events of Scream 5. Anyways, guys, that is just my theories and things I wanted to rant off about with Scream 6. I am so looking forward to this movie. Like I said, everything I talked about here is most likely going to end up wrong, and whatever the movie ends up delivering, if they execute it well, I won't be pissed off how wrong I was. So please, you guys leave me your thoughts down below. What are your theories and speculation for Scream 6? Do you see any possibilities at all for any theories I've brought up? Would love to hear your own as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.